Hello, everyone. Welcome to our WorkEngine webinar for July 14th. My name is Jose Levy, and I am a director within EPM Live within our East region and also within our parent company, Elmar Solutions. Today's webinar topic is accelerating SharePoint value with total work management. So we want to take a slightly different approach with this webinar. And rather than show you our capabilities straight up, we wanted to provide some foundational elements of how WorkEngine actually enhances everything that's available in SharePoint right now, and also take a perspective of explaining why you want to do this with SharePoint now, and why it's important for you to consider WorkEngine as you're implementing SharePoint in your organization. In terms of the topics that we're going to talk about, I'm going to explain what I mean by accelerating SharePoint value with WorkEngine. I'm going to provide you some best practice case studies that highlight some customers that have made great use of our platform and obtained great value from the use of WorkEngine with SharePoint. I will go to a demonstration site and show some feature snippets of managing total work for teams and for a portfolio. There's some key takeaways that I have for you, and then any remaining questions and answers from the chat webinar area will be provided. So the first thing I wanted to establish is that even though we're talking about an enterprise content management system, that's what SharePoint is formally as a software and software classes and ECM, an enterprise content management tool, we are still very focused on deriving value from the solution, and very clearly, the implementation of SharePoint and WorkEngine has to derive either an increase in revenue or a reduction in cost. So we're always looking for, and you should be looking in your SharePoint implementation for deployment outcomes that are going to yield value to the organization. So it's not only about just installing SharePoint and deploying SharePoint for managing documents or for collaboration. We actually do have to get to that outcome that is going to generate value for the organization. So I just want to state this to make sure that we focus our implementation on having value statements. And together with that, I think it's important then to understand that what we get with SharePoint is just an enterprise content management platform that has a series of capabilities from which we can build on. So what you see on the left are the different capability feature areas that SharePoint has out of the box, where we can create sites, where we can manage communities through the social network capabilities, managing different content types, search, BI, which is insight, and then composites, which is all the different tools that are available, integration of tools, APIs, and so on. And on the right, you see WorkEngine, which is a work management, portfolio management, project management solution. So what we're doing is taking a generic enterprise content management platform that has very strong capabilities, and we are trying to address or exploit those capabilities for driving value, for creating those value statements that are going to generate value to the organization. So WorkEngine sits right on top of SharePoint, and through our application, you actually obtain that portfolio work management solution that I'm referring to. So from our perspective, work management, project management, it still has a huge opportunity in the organization. What I'm showing here is a recent survey conducted by AIM that went out and talked to over 500 SharePoint deployed organizations to determine how they were using SharePoint. And you can see that collaboration workspaces and document management is the first capability that that was identified. And those are the kind of typical initial use cases that are addressed with SharePoint, basically storing documents in folder libraries and creating team sites for folks to come together and collaborate on process on actions that are defined. You note that project management, which is where work management is defined, is still around 53%, and what that means is that we still have a huge opportunity to leverage SharePoint as a work management system. So that's really where WorkEngine comes in. We can help you get to that, accelerate to that value by having the solution on top of your SharePoint platform. What I'm going to do now is give you a brief overview of our solution just so you understand what I'm referring to. This site provides what we call our solution architecture, and what we have done is essentially created formally a SharePoint solution. So the WorkEngine solution is actually a SharePoint solution as defined by the SharePoint technology. And that solution has a series of features that are, once the solution is installed on a farm, the features are activated on a site collection by site collection basis. And what this allows you to do is essentially to turn a plain vanilla site collection within SharePoint being a container of sites, into an enterprise work management application. Now, in order to facilitate your adoption, we have built different solutions, out-of-the-box applications that are available for you. So you can right now license and we have a portfolio management, project management, agile and service application that's available to you, and that has some default settings that the solution is essentially ready to go. The application is ready to go. So what we're trying to show here is, again, for accelerating that value from SharePoint, we have these applications that we built, and they allow you to address your processes, which are represented at the very, very top. The solution features, are put together to deliver capabilities. So you see here some of the capabilities that the WorkEngine solution has for SharePoint. So the first one on the right is portfolio management. So here you'll be able to create different portfolios and do analysis on those portfolios. There's really no limitation in terms of the number of items that you can include within a portfolio. As I go down, we have resource management, so you'll be able to determine capacity of resources for additional work, future work, based on their current allocation and what they're currently executing. The different types of work also is managed within that resource management capability. Work management is where the team members will come in to update work that's been assigned to them, and that work could be project tasks, it could be issues, it could be risks, it could be service requests. Cost management is where I'm going to manage my budget and my actuals. So here, by project item and work item, I can manage individual budgets, and again, as execution occurs, compare against actuals. And then we do have a timesheet within the system, so if you're interested in tracking time with a formal managed time period concept, we do provide a timesheet with a number of different settings. And then finally, all of the data is stored within a reporting solution, and that allows you to leverage business intelligence with reports, dashboards, ad hoc Excel reporting, as needed. So again, this is what the WorkEngine solution for SharePoint provides. I think one important concept that we also want to note is our pre-built solution templates. And this allows you also to leverage these pre-built SharePoint workspaces to drive a specific process, a specific approach that you might be interested in, so you don't have it's a starter that you can change, make your own, accommodate to your process, and then deploy within the sites. So any licensed user of our tool, has access to these templates to use within their sites. And then finally, from a feature standpoint, we have a feature set that is best of breed, and again, builds on top of SharePoint to deliver value. We have 2 releases per year that, based on our roadmap, that increase capabilities within the WorkEngine platform. So what I'd like to do now is cover some better practice case studies. So these are 3 different examples of organizations that took our solution and were able to derive value from using WorkEngine. We have over 700 customers installed. So there's many different examples of how organizations have leveraged our tool. But these 3 stand out because of I think specific work management capabilities that we're able to leverage. So the first one is a large data center relocation program. We're talking about 7 to 8 different major projects that were all included within one program. The program workspace had underneath individual project workspaces. So this is an example of a two-level site hierarchy. The individual project workspaces were being managed by project managers with Microsoft project plans, and those project plans were published to the individual project workspaces. All of the project workspaces are then rolling up to a program workspace through the WorkEngine roll-up capabilities. The main 2 drivers of this example was using WorkEngine for internal program control. So it was important to maintain budget and look at the scheduled milestones because of the interdependencies between the projects, the data center projects. One important consideration for this initiative was they needed to maintain the cost of the system and the cost of the implementation fairly controlled. And also, they did not have the luxury of time here, so they needed to have this up and running very, very quickly. So we were able to meet with WorkEngine those 2 specific constraints that they had working against them. And it really is interesting what they were able to do with our tool set in a very short period of time. So again, it's an example of how you can take WorkEngine and then mold it to your specific set of requirements. The second item I want to address is the large U.S. Navy infrastructure program. So this scenario is slightly more complex, broader in terms of the number of participants, the number of locations. In this case, the program manager was interested in creating a portal that integrated all program participants, all program processes, multidisciplinary teams that were working on the program. One major end state requirement was having a program dashboard for decision support. So we were able to do that through the use of WorkEngine and SharePoint. They have, in this particular example, multi-tiered, so there's several levels to the site hierarchy where there's individual project workspaces, but there's also compliance team sites where compliance teams are rendering judgment on specific components of the individual projects. And their end game was to have greater accountability. This particular program has very detailed project management reviews, and they wanted to really cut down the time in reviewing information and providing updates. So having WorkEngine and SharePoint helped significantly. And then finally having the decision that program dashboard improve program controls. So, they took a longer approach, much more deliberate approach in the capabilities they wanted to build, and they were able to do that with WorkEngine. Our third example is, a standard IT shop trying to manage all work for all resources. In this case, they have different types of work for all IT members. So there's service requests, there's project task items, there are issues, risks, change requests that are being managed through the system. And each of those different types of works has different levels of effort that are assigned to them. The projects are being planned, operational tasks are being assigned, and service requests are being also entered in the system and tasked to the different team members. In this case, large projects are receiving their individual project workspaces. This is kind of a common architecture with ours, which is using project workspaces for large projects and then having one single site, either by division or for the entire group for lightweight projects. So if the project doesn't require the same rigor as a very large initiative, you can put them all within one site. And that's what happened here. And their goals are to improve overall resource allocation while at the same time maintaining the usability as simple as possible. So they did not want to burden their team members with a lot of additional work for updating the different types of work that are defined. So in this case, they actually were able to do that by simply creating a two-site hierarchy that had, again, individual project workspaces for the larger ones, which are very few, and then everything else within a single site. So what I'd like to do now is show you a few of the features that we have for managing work. So I'm going to switch screens here, 1 second. So bear with me here while I change my screen. Okay, so everyone should be seeing the WorkEngine homepage. And so this particular user is actually a super user. So as I go through some of the parts of this demonstration, you'll see that he will have access to different areas of the system on a full basis. I do want to highlight that WorkEngine is role-based in terms of its security, which means that different roles will have access to different parts of the application, and you can configure it that way. In this case, what we're looking at is what a project manager might be seeing when they come into the system. They basically have a list of the projects that they're working on, and they might have graphics, links, the ability to see different types of summary information within their initial page. From here, it's a launching point really to other areas that they have access to. Another way of rendering the same information is using the My Site concept. And the reason I'm showing this is because you can see here that even within their summary My Site, you can see the different types of work that this individual has been assigned. And we're seeing all work together with the rest of the navigation, which are work reminders, navigations within their site, and other content that the My Site template might have. So you can use WorkEngine in combination with My Sites to roll up content. You see here that I can open up this view, which is all work, and I'll show this later in a slightly different view. So within the summary My Site, I could come in and update specific items that have been assigned to me as a user, as a team member. So here's an actual request that I was asked to work on. Or, on the other hand, if I'm a manager and I have unassigned work, in other words, I'm actually responsible for assigning team members, I can also do that from here directly. So you can see that here we have an example of having both roles as a team member that's been assigned tasks, as well as unassigned work that I have the ability to assign to other team members. And again, what we want to do is have the ability to manage all different types of work from one interface. So going back to the role of a team member, so a team member might only have just the ability to see their assignments. So here's all my work by project, and this is a roll-up of all of the work that's been assigned. You can see that I can open it by project, and I can have different views to represent the different types of work. So it's really up to you and what you want to render to your team members. So a team member might come in, and then if they have a specific issue or risk assigned, they can come in directly and update the status and the hours. If we're talking about a project task, here's a project task, and I can do the same thing. I can update the work, and you can also control the columns that you make changes to. So here I could change dates. So that's one way of updating work, all the different type of work that a team member might have. So just to close, you see here, Xbox, we have actions, issues, risks, and obviously my project task. If I continue to a timesheet, and I'm not really going to get into a lot of detail here, I am looking at our timesheet capability. So you can have a managed time period concept where you have different time periods defined. The tasks that you should be updating for the time period are going to show up. You can have different time categories. Even notes can be assigned here. Again, if you're looking for a formal managed time period concept, we have it. And if you're interested, we can go into greater detail offline about how you actually use this. You can put non-work categories as part of the timesheet. So this would be another area for, again, within a timesheet to manage different types of work. You see here that I have issues and I have also tasks. I'll go ahead and leave that area. So then we get to actually managing the life cycle for initiating the different types of work. So here I have a request list. It's not the only way of managing a request. We also have a service management application, which can also have a self-service portal assigned to it for service portal created for having different types of service requests generated and assigned to different folks. So this is the service portal page where you get your updates on what you requested. The actual request center is where we see the summary of different types of requests that have been created. So for every one of these items, and again, we're talking about the initial service request capability, I have the ability to comment, assign, close, log work. I can plan specific activities around the request, have different types of workflows depending on who the owner is, depending on the type that I have. And that's because within the item itself, I could be managing different types of requests. So incidents, requests for information, service requests. We could even have projects here, and I'll show the project component in a second. But you could include it here and then have a different workflow for that particular type of work. Here we have the ability to change fields depending on how primary fields work. So these are cascading lookups that you can have within your site, and that's how we also are able to manage the different sets of fields that are associated with, in this case, accounts. But it could also be driven by the request type. And in every case, you see that there's an owner and there's an assigned to. So again, the ability to have different types of requests and have a resource from the resource pool that is executing that is what allows us to manage those different types of work. Let me go ahead and get out of this page. We'll go to the project request, and I'm looking at a portfolio of requests with a score by score. If I open this up, you see that I also have the ability to look at them by state, which I'll show in a second, or I can look at my individual project requests. So the idea is these requests are will have metadata that should reflect your business case or your request, your project request or service request fields, and obviously these can be changed to manage your specific metadata. Every one of these is going to have a workflow attached to them. So in this case, I'm looking by score. I'm going to change this and do by state. And you can see here that I have some that are in that initial request state, some that are in proposed, and some that are active. I can change the life cycle, depending on the phases that you want to manage. So this is flexible. You note that I have strategic alignment scores. And also risk management scores. So you have the ability to take surveys and rank projects based on specific criteria. In this particular interface, I have the ability to convert a request item into a project. So the idea is that as requests come in, I can have them go through a specific workflow. Let me go back and show the approvals. I can have the item go through a workflow and approve, reject the item. And after that, I can, once approved, I can take that item and convert it to a project. So what that means is that my project then will be part of the portfolio of projects to be executed. And here you see our project center now with all the projects that have gone through the approval process. And again, I have within the active portfolio, I also include proposed projects that have been approved. So it's important to note that for any approved project, and this varies by your specific life cycle in your organization, but for the purposes of this discussion, I'll assume that any approved project, you will have the ability to define a capacity plan, to define a cost plan, and to define a work plan, which in the context of a large project is a project plan itself. And I'm just going to open these so you can see that within the portfolio, again, independent of the type of work item that it is, I can define capacity for it. That gives me the ability to allocate time of resources during a time period for the project. There's another webinar that is scheduled to go over this capability in detail. I'm just going to review it summarily here so that you see what it's all about. But essentially, we have an enterprise resource pool in which we can actually match for resource skills and availability of resources. And I can also define generic requirements if needed on either active or new projects. And you see here that I'm going through and picking a department of generic skill set or role, which I can then match to find who might be available to perform that time that I've defined for the item. So great tool in terms of your ability to find available resources. The next is defining cost, and I would consider this one of our more advanced capabilities, where you have cost categories and cost types, and you have the ability to define budget by including labor, and you can manage it in hours or FTEs, and also include any other cost item that might be needed within your budgets. And then finally, I have the ability to manage work tasks or a project itself if I want to do it online. So I'm showing here the work planner capability. This is actually an active project that I selected, the Xbox DVD, our famous Xbox DVD. And it has several outline levels. It has, because it's an active project with completed work, has the assignments, work assignments, make the resources. So you see here that I actually have assignments made to individual team members. This is, again, our work planner, and you can see the entire project plan as we're executing it. And, at the same time, if you're interested in just doing single-line plans and doing analysis, you can, I'll just show an example here, one that is just that. We just got started. We've defined start and finish date. We haven't done really much of anything else other than put it within our work planner as a one-line project. So there are additional tools for using cost plans and resource plans, and really the purpose of this webinar is not to go into that level of detail. If you're interested, feel free to make contact, and we can walk you through the portfolio analysis and resource management and cost management. Suffice to say that we have a full set of portfolio capabilities, and depending on your set of requirements, we can address them. The next level that I want to cover is really the project management side at the workspace level. So for those large project initiatives, or really any initiative that is large enough where an individual project workspace needs to be created, this is the example of the project plan. And I'm just going to go to the home page. Of the project workspace, and you see here our Xbox DVD. You see our navigation. This is one of our default project templates. So the idea here is, again, for those larger initiatives, you will actually define the process and the steps that you want team members and a project manager to follow, and that will be reflected in your project workspace template. I showed you the project plan already, but here we also have the different resources. You have your different logs, issue, risk, change request logs. All these are default pre-populated. So again, with the idea of accelerating the value of SharePoint, all of this is pre-built for you, and you just need to make changes to, as you grow your implementation in order to accommodate your process. The next example I want to show is, this is an example of an IT planning and control or multiple applications. So this actually shows, within one single organization, in this case we picked IT, you can have, or you can manage and create different applications from one central area. So imagine this being the IT planning and control site, and then we have underneath it a project management node, an application management node, and a service management node. If you needed to create additional ones, let's say that you're doing a large program or a large initiative, or you're trying to manage processes within the same top site, we can go ahead and create a new application. So this could be, let's say, the large data center move. Since we're going to create a new workspace, you see that here you can select the templates. And again, this is the important part of our solution, that you have the ability to have these pre-built templates already created. And we can go, and I'm just going to call it data center. And I'm going to go ahead and create solution. So this is actually going to populate, and I'm going to use Agile just for this particular example. This will go ahead and create the site underneath our top site that will have all of the data there ready to go for the entire application. So I will actually have an application created underneath my TPC. What I want to do now is move to talk about reporting. And what that means within our solution is that we have several ways of displaying reports and any data that's really within the site collection. So you see here on the right hand that we have some SQL reporting service reports that are already out of the box. And we provide them to you so you can make changes if you're interested. But the idea is to have, when you first install the solution, some examples of reports that you can create with WorkEngine. In this case, I selected all milestones for all projects. So you can see here that they come out already expanded. If you needed to port this to a different format to export, you can do that. If you need to open it and make a change, this is where you would be able to do that if you wanted to add an additional column. This is just a simple milestones report for all projects. The other one that we show, if any of you have been in my presentations, we show the project status summary. So this is an important one if you're talking about a large project. Again, you can see the metadata that's coming from the content that I'm managing within my workspace. And here you have schedule status, cost status, milestones. And on the second page, issues and risks for the project. So just by using our solution and having this report at hand, you're able to summarize and get a project status right out of the box. The second capability is using Excel reports, and I'll just open one here so you can see. It's in this particular case, we're highlighting our snapshot capability. And so by month, I have selected several projects, and I'm looking at the active versus overdue count of tasks, issues, and risks. So you can see here how the active versus overdue have changed over time. And again, you can define the the frequency of the snapshot and use this data for trending and additional BI. So that's our Excel capability, and we have a number of them out of the box. You see here that we have timesheet reports, project issue, project risk. So there's really no limitation in your ability to create very specific reports. And then finally, we can combine our roll-up views and our charting web parts to do dashboarding. So here we have an example of a simple work dashboard. Work versus actual by project type, and then the status of the entire portfolio. Most projects are active, and then I have a portfolio work summary where I have brought in really one of my project center views and used it to display the work status. So here we have different types of projects with the indicator, thresholds, and actual work, remaining work, timesheet hours, remaining hours. And you can make changes to the columns, really drive the data that you want to render in this view. So the next example that I want to show, and again, for sakes of time and simplicity, we do have, if you wanted to just create a site with all of our features to control, manage and control a set of projects, in other words, there's no project workspaces underneath, you can have all projects created within a site, and you can have the same type of feature richness that I showed earlier in terms of being able to manage its capacity plan, its cost plan, its project plan. Again, we're trying to accelerate the value you obtain from SharePoint, and if your organization or groups within your organization are just interested in managing projects, a project portfolio with the depth of being able to manage metadata, being able to manage costs and manage resources, WorkEngine can easily do that. There's really not a lot of complexity in what you're seeing here. Every project is being created within this, what I'm terming here single EPM site. You can attach files to items, and you could be including document libraries also within this single site. So, this is a great example of how you can keep it simple while at the same time having all of the capabilities that are required for a full portfolio work management system. Okay, that's really what I wanted to cover in terms of the feature set. And there's a lot more that we can show and a lot more depth that our system has. But again, for time's sake, I'm going to leave it at that. If you have any additional questions or things you didn't see, feel free to contact us, and we can give you a deeper walkthrough. Okay, 1 second here while I change my screen to the remaining slides that we have. So some key takeaways from our discussion. Well, first of all, it is our belief and what we've evidenced from our customers that, for faster SharePoint value, we need to strive for managing all types of work with the WorkEngine solution. And what that means is you can manage the workload for all types of work and workload for your resource pool. We can do portfolio reporting and analysis, again, for all work items. We can do cost and resource management at a project and a portfolio level. And as I showed in the first part of the demonstration, status and time management can be captured for all different types of work. And really what we're doing is making SharePoint extremely actionable towards planning and tracking all those different types of work. Our best practice, better practice case studies, I think in all of those cases, we're looking at implementations that started with a narrow feature set in WorkEngine that was very aimed towards their goals for the implementation and also delivered value immediately. So they were very, very focused on, generating that value as soon as possible and then building from there. That's where we say, grow over time as the adoption grows, and then use a phased approach. So use, plan out and go for, more advanced features in later phases. And what we found is, by leveraging WorkEngine, you're going to formalize your overall SharePoint deployment. So there are a number of pain points that come with implementing an enterprise content management system. These have been, well documented in terms of, how you get an organization to adopt enterprise content management. So with WorkEngine, you are using that enterprise content management immediately. The pre-built applications and the solution templates allow you to derive value from SharePoint on day one. So here's where an opportunity for organizations that are thinking about SharePoint to use WorkEngine as a launching pad for doing a lot more deeper usability of SharePoint. And overall, if we're talking specifically about WorkEngine, within our own right, we are talking about an application that is 100% SharePoint based, which makes it easy to use, familiar for users. It has great native capabilities out of the box, as I showed, and it's widely deployed. We can manage different types of processes and methodologies, so it is flexible and it can accommodate project management, waterfall methods, agile methods, and service management, as I showed. It's easily configurable in the sense that in most cases we train an administrator as part of a training class or an implementation, and they literally take over and build a solution on their own and can do great things with it. In the 3 cases that I spoke about with customers, that's exactly what occurred. We trained the administrators, and they went from there and built a great solution. As the title of this presentation, we were addressing managing all different types of work in one system and having different sets of features for managing that. Our solution is both software as a service and on-premise. So we have a lot of organizations that are starting in our hosted sites and then bring the application in-house on-premise after they have proven it out. So it's actually a great opportunity to begin in a hosted system without creating delays because of your in-house infrastructure. And finally, EPM Live is a full-service firm. We have been in business over 10 years. Our roots are in project management and portfolio management. So we are domain experts. We're not just technologists. We know the project management and portfolio management business. So we can be your trusted advisor. So what I'd like to do now is, for those that are interested in trying out our project publisher, we do have a promotion where you can download a copy and obtain a free copy of Project Publisher. So here I'm listing the website and the promo code that you can use. So feel free to go through and give our Project Publisher a try. I also have my contact information should anybody want to ask any questions, go into a deeper dive in any of the features and capabilities that I showed. And in closing, I would like to thank you for your time. Thanks for spending this time with us, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future. So for now, I will sign off, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you soon. Thank you very much.